Welcome back. This is The Big Story. Allow me to reintroduce the panel that I have tonight. We have Javas Bigambo, the governance expert, and Uriri Member of Parliament Mark Nyamita, who alluded to some of the sentiments that were made by Inspector General of Police Joseph Boynet, what he had to say with respect to what is happening in Migingo. We've had a story of about 22 Kenyans who were at Migingo Island, and they were arrested. They had gone fishing there, and some of the leaders were just narrating the ordeal that some of these men who were arrested were going through. Let's listen to what the IG had to say.
They will arrest you. So when you get arrested in foreign waters for perhaps using illegal fishing gear, why scream?
Mheshimiwa Nyamita, let me begin with you. Your reaction to what the IG had to say with respect to those arrests.
You can actually just hear him. That saying, why scream when you're arrested? I mean, it is okay for a Ugandan policeman to come into Kenyan territory and arrest us because you've conducted something. One, on his part, is admission that he's actually failed in his duties. But why are you asking why this issue began earlier and why is it actually coming up now? It began earlier, but the government has done nothing at all for over the years. This issue has been with us for about 9 years. And that's the reason. In fact, when you hear the gist of the statement from my colleague, he is a frustrated person on behalf of his people, and we all are. We are actually feeling like stepchildren in this particular country, that the law really doesn't apply to us. When something happens and, you know, the Inspector General, you would have expected him to have gone there in troops to actually find out, first give me back my people. One, you have crossed over the boundary into Kenya, and once you've crossed over into the boundary, so bring them back. We will take them to court with the laws of the country. We cannot be tried with the laws from a foreign country. But if our Inspector General of Police, where you're supposed to actually report, is talking about that way, you can imagine now the feeling of the people. Yet just the other day, when they wanted to protect ballot papers like this one on the table, when they wanted to protect ballot papers, they had a whole artillery, a whole battalion of policemen. In fact, there was even a chopper roving over Migori County. I was personally there. When they wanted to actually just protect a ballot paper that was going to declare an illegitimate president. But today, people have been arrested, Kenyans, who are paying taxes, by the way.
Mheshimiwa?
Yes.
So this is essentially a security issue. Why is it that those who would think that maybe now the leaders from the region are, quote-unquote, politicizing it?
We are not politicizing the issue. The issue is a security issue. But who is supposed to provide security? Isn't it not the government? But if the government is failing, then we are saying, okay, fine, if this government cannot provide security to its own people, because we are citizens of Kenya, if it cannot provide security for its own people, then people have to find other alternative means to secure themselves.
So apart from calling for secession, what other avenues have the leaders from the area put in place?
I actually don't want us to lose the point. I don't think we say that if our fishermen are not brought back, we're going to secede. He said secession is one of the options.
Okay.
The gist of the statement that members of parliament today made from areas where their people have actually been arrested, including Migori, where I come from, was that we are asking the government to move with speed like they do in other cases. So right now, the government should not start saying, oh, they're asking for secession, because we are asking for our people to be brought back first. Is when we identify what mistake is it that they actually did, and they can be prosecuted locally. And that's the gist of the statement. But they say it's secession, exercising our sovereignty through directly through the people. Those were our options that we are saying. But the gist of the statement is that whatever is happening to our Kenyans now are being arrested and being tried in a different country under the watch of this government is what we're actually protesting against.
Okay. But just to be fair, because I listened into that entire press, Javas, before I bring you in, John Badi, let me just quote what he said. He said, we are taxpayers of this country. We should not be treated as refugees. Boynet must come out and defend the people of Kenya from unnecessary attacks, lest we are told that we do not belong to this country. Nyatike Member of Parliament, Tom Odege, said, if the government is tired of Nyanza, we are ready to go alone. We cannot force ourselves into a marriage that is not working. Javas, what are your thoughts about the reasoning behind the call for secession by the leaders?
First, there is sufficient examples, precept if you like, around the world that led to Malta's secession. In 1945, Austria seceded from Nazi Germany. under the rule of Adolf Hitler and the kind of iniquities and transgressions that the rule of Hitler had committed to large numbers of people. When you look at, for example, the real theories of matter cessation, one, there's a question of choice and the willingness of the people to decide that which they want to determine their course of leadership and future. Then when such a people feel that they are not feeling included in the general progress of a nation, then such calls of secession will always gain traction. Look at it this way. When you look at, for example, a book titled Why Nations Fail, their authors, Acemoglu and Robinson, determined that there are critical issues of matters economic, social justice, etc., even cultural, that when people feel that they are disengaged or that they do not feel they are valued by the general or the larger or the whole, then they will pursue other means. Now, for example, talk of matters Migingo Island. It is heart-wrenching when you listen to the Inspector General of Police say that if you go into foreign territories or other territories or territorial waters of other countries to fish and then you are apprehended, then you need not shout. It tells you one thing, that our citizenship is not valued so much and protected by the state. Remember that during the reign of President Kibaki, the issues of Migingo Island came up. And you remember the statements of His Excellency President Museveni. He said that the water is theirs, but Migingo Island is ours, referring to Uganda. Then there was a commission or a team that was set up by the two nations, Kenya and Uganda, to map and settle that issue. That matter has not come to the public to this day. It tells you one thing, that either there is something that is being hidden from the general public, or that the matters of Migingo are things that the country, Kenya, has not taken very seriously. Now you see, when fishermen and women are apprehended by various security forces from Uganda, and then our country does not move forward to protect its own citizens, then it tells you one thing, that these people may feel that they do not count, they do not matter to the nation Kenya. Now, I'll give you an example around the world. For example, pick the country America. If just 1 or 2 Americans are apprehended or killed by any country on earth, that country will face the wrath of the American military force. Then you ask yourself, why is it that our country, Kenya, cannot always move with speed to protect its citizens? There's been the case of Kenyans who were held in the South Sudan. Their fate has always kept on hanging. The country has never moved with speed to secure their release and freedom. Now, the matters of Migingo as well come to the table for discussion or come to fore. It is important that the country Kenya, and of course with due respect to the office of His Excellency the President, that they must always move with speed to protect the citizens first. That creates a value to citizenship by any individual. So when that value is lost, or when that value is not felt, then somebody would feel that it matters the less whether you're a citizen of Kenya or in the country. And therefore, it informs it even adds part of the value to the calls for secession by those who are making that argument. Much as personally, I would say that when nations are trying to enhance their territories, the issues of fragmentation do not make for the greater good of any nation or any country in the 21st century.
Okay. So, Mheshimiwa Nyamita, I listened in to John Mbadi earlier on in the day, and he was saying they had a meeting, and both governments, what they agreed on was that both governments were to contribute money to put clear boundary between Kenya and Uganda to end the fight over the fishing territory. That is what the 10th Parliament did. You, as the leaders from the area, what exactly have you done apart from the call for secession?
Linda, I don't know why you keep on talking about this, our call for secession as a key issue.
That is why I'm saying, Mheshimiwa, let's put it aside.
The one thing that we have done,
yeah,
the statement that was read today was to ask the government to move with speed and react. Remember, these people were not arrested yesterday. They were arrested the day before yesterday. So the whole day yesterday passed. There was no communication from government. Today, after the statement, then the Inspector General of Police says, if they have been arrested, they need to face the law. Why shout? One, I want to make it clear that these people were not arrested in territorial boundaries that are out of Kenya. They were not arrested in Uganda. They were arrested in Kenya. So what have we done is that we have asked the government, because the government, we have a security arm of the government, and we have asked them, please move with speed and bring back our people. If there are any mistakes, charge them with the laws of the land. That's what we have done.
Okay. Have you got any response?
But what
Mbadi
said that they had asked both governments to actually contribute. And like I said, this issue has been with us for the longest, from Kibaki government until now. The government has not done a single thing because the people from that region probably are lesser beings in this country. That's what it is.
Why do you say the people from the region are probably...
But how then would you explain it, Linda? How else would you explain it? When your own citizens, my friend has just given you an example. If an American citizen today was arrested or went missing in this country, I tell you the first statement you'll get is from the ambassador. The second, you will hear the president ordering police to investigate and find out where that American is. So how else would you explain when our people, who we represent so dearly, have been arrested and taken to a different country? We don't have arms on our own. We are saying, government, can you move? And they come to us as leaders and we move to the government and ask them, please get back our people. And you get such a careless statement from the Inspector General of Police saying, if they've been arrested, let them face the law. In Uganda, how else would you explain it? I mean, really, how else?
Okay, so Mheshimiwa, as an elected leader from the area, because this is your moment to just talk about what you expect from the current government in terms of sorting this thing out, what would you like to see being done now? Because the fishermen have already been arrested, they're still being detained.
First and foremost is the government needs to move with speed to secure the release of those fishermen unconditionally and be brought back to the country. If there are any issues that they actually did, let them be taken to our Kenyan laws. Because we are not saying that it is okay for our people to break the law. But what we are saying is the first thing the government needs to do is to move with speed, secure the release of our fishermen from Uganda, bring them back into the country. Once they're in the country, let them face the full force of the law for whatever reasons that they are. Number two, the government needs to move with speed to define and demarcate the boundaries of Kenya and Uganda. And there should be a very clear communication between us and Uganda that they need to respect our boundaries. And I want to tell you that the people from that region are very easy with our Ugandan counterparts. You will note that all goods coming from Mombasa going to Uganda pass through Nyanza for that reason. If today we are also saying, let us also block it, because when we secede, we will not recognize them as well. But that is not the issue here. What we are asking is the government moves in speed to secure our people, because those people also need to go back to their families. Remember, these are people who left, like going to work like you are at work now. Then they've only been arrested and taken to a different country. So we want them back. We want the government to move with speed to solve the issue of territorial boundaries. We want the government to send additional security to the island to protect her citizens, who are people within Migingo Island. And this should actually happen as a matter of emergency.
All right, Mheshimiwa Javas.
The Constitution of Kenya 2010 is very clear on the territory of Kenya. And during the reign of President Kibaki, there was the issue of surveying that part of the region to determine whether Migingo belongs to Kenya or otherwise. Question arises. If the Constitution of Kenya defines the territory of Kenya, does Migingo fall in Kenya or not? That is a question that citizens of this country should not grappling with. That is a question that government and its machinery should come clear on and very clean on. And in fact, if at all Migingo belongs to Kenya, then it makes no sense that any Kenyan who is an inhabitant of that island or any fisherman who decides to explore matters economic value by fishing, etc., and they go into those waters, and then they face interference from the security forces from Uganda, the security forces of Kenya should move swiftly to protect Kenyans. The other thing is this. Article 5 is very clear, and we should not even be arguing about this. And that is why I think it is very important that the Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya, who is the legal advisor of government, should advise government on matters of that territory. And if it was mapped, then why is it that this debate is still raging on? And the other thing is this. Why is it that close to 9 years on, we are still in that sort of confusion or quagmire? And even if it's a question of the good neighborliness between Kenya and Uganda, the question of territory should not be a question that we must be grappling with right now. The other thing is this, Linda. When you look, for example, putting into context the question of matters secession, I'll tell you this. For example, I'll give the example of the 1967 quest for secession by the Biafran territory of Nigeria. And we know very well that 50 years since that push for secession in Biafra, Biafra has not recovered from the kind of challenge that it faced when it pushed for that quest for secession.
So in other words, this is not even a conversation people should be considering right now.
The thing is this. Today in this country, when you look at the matters of economic interest, cultural interest, social interest, and political interest across this country, it is important that we do not get to be so reductionist to assume that when then we secede, that freedom, independence, prosperity, freedom will be guaranteed. Today, when you look at South Sudan, after seceding from the larger Sudan, the Nuer, as we have said, and the Dinka today have put that part of this continent in constant, consistent, incessant war. And they're not going to know no peace, even in the foreseeable future. When you look at, for example, Eritrea, I'll ask the question, do the people of Eritrea today feel that they are most free, most advanced, most progressive because of having seceded and becoming an own national entity? The answer is no. So the thing is this. Look at, for example, if the coastal region secedes as it's being pushed by the coastal leaders, if the people of Nyanza and Western secede, will it make them, and in fact, even another question arises, are those regions of this country even able to sustain themselves?
Okay, Javas.
Now, moving forward, Linda.
Javas, I need to end this.
All right, but concluding, I would say that it is important for us to redefine our nationhood, not to push for secession, but to see how we can become better, big and progressive together as a unit, not as small entities.
Okay. Javas Bigambo, governance expert, Mheshimiwa Mark Nyamita, Member of Parliament, Uriri. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time this evening on The Big Story. I'm Linda Ogutu. Thank you for watching. I'll be back in a couple of minutes with Katie and Prime looking at the top stories. But remember, this conversation about secession continues at 10 p.m. on Bottom Line with Yusuf. He'll be having a very good panel as well. But outside Kenya, people from countries that have tried or have gone through secession, then maybe they can explain some of the experiences they've had. Have a good night. See you in a couple of minutes for Katie and Prime.